Here we are, finally at the finish line with the assault. Now, let me tell you something. The assault goes hard. They get the best melee weapon in the game for damage. They get one of the best pistols in the game, hands down. And not gonna lie, their little jump pack ability actually is really good at times. It helps you dodge the terminus level enemies, helps you get around the crowds a lot more. Like, it's pretty solid, folks. I slept on this class the longest, but a lot of my buddies were telling me, yeah, it's great, you need to try it. I just, like I said, slept on it because they didn't have a primary weapon, and really I couldn't play it because one of my buddies was usually playing it, but it's whatever. They are insane, and I can easily recommend them. Now, looking at the old assault here, it is absolutely fucking criminal. They're the only ones with a heavy bolt pistol. Because this thing is godly. I love this damn thing. I go for the ammo upgrades, just like with the plasma pistol and the heavy, because I want to get more ammo out there. I mean, I was thinking about the one extra firepower on this, but I don't know if it translates to the ammo gains you get from this, you know what I mean? I feel like the ammo is better for overall damage, rather than way less overall reserve and mag capacity, just for one extra firepower. It just doesn't feel like the good option for me. And for those of y'all that are not really getting your mastery points up like this, I finally figured it out myself. Fucking took me so long to figure this out, but you gotta do the whole, like, you get this upgrade, right? I usually just master it instantly. Bam. Mastery point right there, baby. So remember that for yourself, just in case you haven't been getting those. Just figured I'd let you know. If you didn't know, now you know. Perk trees. Alright. Charge attacks probably rule the roost when it comes to assault, so extra damage on that is always welcome. Secondary weapon, I mean, it's your only weapon for range, so you should probably boost its damage when you have it. Enemies hit by melee attacks take 10% more damage. Only 3 seconds, but come on, that just makes sense for an assault, you know? I have the extra gun strike damage for all squad members. 50% is no joke, people, trust me. You get at least one less gun strike to get a kill, essentially, with this perk on the higher difficulties instead of having to kind of farm it on a target over and over. You get like one or two less sometimes. Really good. I like this perk for the ground pound doing 100% more damage. I don't really care about the whole radius being reduced. It feels just fine if you are going for a single target or they're bunched up just enough for you. It feels right enough. So I also will use the jump pack recharging quicker. 20% is decent. That helps me get to the higher damage ground pound a lot easier, so that's good to do. Now, I like the after a finisher, the ground pound deals 25% more damage, just because it's more consistent to get. It's more damage too than this one that's just up all the time, where the ground pound deals more damage, but it takes more time to prep it in the air. I can see that being good, but I kind of like the finisher and do more ground pound damage. It just flows better to me. Now, this last perk, I don't have this very last one. This is probably the one I'd use where you dodge with the jump pack and it gives it back. So I've just been using the reload all weapons perk. Honestly, for a while I was using Ascension, but this thing kills you. So watch out. I think it's a bug. It probably obviously is. Like, let's be real. But it can kill you. So until that's fixed, use one of the other two, okay? Like ample ammunition or commitment. Just use those. Don't hurt yourself or your team in the end game because you just died at the end of a ruthless run or something because you did your jump pack. It's not worth it. Now, I'm a big dumb idiot because I didn't talk about the melee weapon that I used in the breakdown of what I am using class setup wise, but I tried to go for the hardest hitting hammer that I could get, and a lot of the time it's a balance instead of a fencing type. So I have to get used to not having the best amount of perfect parry frames. By the way, you saw the jetpack perk there kill me. Just a nuisance for the whole team. There was no reason for that to happen. But anyway, I think that the hammer has a higher tier damage output in the purple, like the artificer side of them, instead of the relic tree, because the relic tree, it kind of caps out the damage at like 11 or so, maybe 10, but it changes cleaving potentials and all that, and I tried to go for highest damage and most cleaving potential that I could get, and most of the time it's the balanced ones that make that happen rather than the fencing or the block ones. The block ones, I will say, usually do have the most damage but less cleaving potential, but I value that when I'm fighting a bunch of hordes as an assault with usually only a melee. So, I don't know. Cleaving potential seems like a extremely slept on stat, just in general, but I think this class made me realize just how important that is to a solid melee weapon. Like, I really need to try out some of my other melees I like using with either the highest damage outputs they can get or different parry typings with balance and block. Like, I don't even think you can parry with block, right? It's literally just blocking. So, there's that. But it's just one of those things that as soon as you try it on one weapon, it kind of opens your eyes to it on other weapons. So, you know, maybe try that kind of stuff out for yourself and see what's going on, Maybe be surprised. And as far as the pistol goes, it just seems like the best option. Little less ammo than the regular bolt, but way more damage. It's just sad that the assault is the only class with it, because I think that this pistol could go really hard on, say, like a sniper, for example, but it is just kind of locked and trapped on the assault. It doesn't feel right, them only having it. It feels like, I don't know, maybe the plasma should have been in its position where only one class really gets it, but I don't know. It's one of those things where I feel like maybe all the classes should have any pistol. It's just a pistol. So, like, come on now. It wouldn't hurt a sniper to have a plasma. It'd be weird, but it wouldn't hurt him, I think. Anyway, you would see me die at least twice with the jump pack perk. The one where you do damage around the radius. So, like, be ready to see that again in the upcoming clips, because I at least made sure to keep it in here so you guys can see it's just not worth running that perk in the higher tier difficulties where one down for your team could spell really bad luck overall. But honestly, as soon as it's fixed, it'll be fine. So, like, who cares, I guess? But it's just something you guys need to know about in case you're going to be playing Assault with that class perk on, because I don't know, I found it annoying to randomly die like that when I was doing perfectly fine. It can take you from full HP to dead instantly, so it's like, come on now. Hell of a bug, I'll give it that. It's kind of funny at times, but it's also annoying. But the Assault lives in the heat of a battle, so it makes sense for you to choose the weapon typing, like fencing, blocking, balance, all that, to where it's like the most comfortable for you. But I didn't want to crutch on fencing weapons exclusively. So I decided to go for the full damage output, all the cleave potential, and it kind of showed me that these stats are very, very good to pay attention to. Not just having really good parry frames and all that. You can do good parries on the other setups too. It's just you have to learn their timing separate from just the fencing one, which has the most hands down. But you know how it goes. I mean, if you don't like the hammer, use the chainsword. I'm not gonna recommend the fist. I know it got buffed, but I don't have enough time with the fist to truly say, yes, use this over X, Y, and Z. So I'm just going to recommend the hammer, which is something that only the assault has, and it is extremely strong. It can almost hit in a full 360 degrees around you if you have the cleaving potential up too. So, it's really good for the crowds. It's got AoE. It's got a lot of the stuff you would want on a class like this, but I'm not gonna lie, Chainsword fucks as well, people, so, kind of feel that out at your own leisure. The assault class itself is actually strong enough where I almost completed an entire Ruthless mission without taking red health damage. And that alone is a feat in of itself in a battle, but to go 80%, almost 90% of the mission without having it happen on a melee setup is kind of bonkers, and I contribute that to just the hammer being crazy good. And when I learned how to actually get all the mastery points on this thing, or just in general, it started becoming insane the potential this thing could have because of the multi slams, the really good charge attacks on it. Like, there's a lot to like about the hammer. It's just you gotta watch out which upgrades you get because if its speed drops below, like, I would say 3 probably, it starts getting to the point where it's kind of hard to use because you just can't react with your attacks as quickly as you could if it was just slightly above 3 or at 3 on the speed stat. It's very weird. It's just weird to me. I'm used to faster weapons, so that's what I would try to go for, but with a weapon that's so hard hitting, you gotta find the balance of how much speed you can get away with and how much actual power and cleaving you need. That's one of those things you feel out naturally as you play with it, sure, but, you know, if we had more than just the 3 melees, it'd be quite interesting, but honestly, I don't even think we need more than just the one, honestly. Like, hammer is all you really need. Chainsword's there for if you don't like the hammer and you need something slightly faster. It just doesn't have the AoE potential and the cleaving a lot of the time that this thing has, so I don't always recommend the chainsword. I would recommend hammer, of course, like I mentioned, but I know there's going to be a couple of fist guys out there. It's like, come on now, why wouldn't you use that? That thing is genuinely too slow for me. I couldn't even get it past the very starting tier because it just didn't vibe with me. Like I couldn't feel myself get attached to the weapon, like I could the other 2 melees. And as far as, pistols, come on, just use the heavy. Heavy bolt pistol all day, every day. The normal one is solid, of course. Like, I love that thing, but the amount of damage you can really do with the heavy bolt pistol is insane. You just have to really make sure you're hitting crit spots a lot more than not, so you can conserve as much ammo as you possibly can, because it just doesn't have a lot. That's why I got the actual ammo upgrades on this thing, so I can actually shoot more. Because in Chaos examples, I think they're called Xanagors or something, the shield guys, the little blue demon guys. This pistol is insane for just one tapping them over the shield, but if you don't have the ammo to do it in a horde, it's going to be a problem, obviously. So, I mean, okay, headshotting stuff with any of the pistols works, but I feel like it works better with the heavy bolt over the regular. Even though the regular can get more shots out there and a little bit more overall accuracy is there, honestly, you don't need it if you're hitting really, really hard with this thing, and you can land more of your shots than not, of course. Like, that's a huge part of it, sure, but, one of those things you'd have to feel out for yourself, too. So, this is about the part in the mission where I finally took that health damage, and it was avoidable completely. I messed up, and I didn't get out of the way in time, and I paid the price for it. Now, because I took damage in here, I decided to, as penance, we'll say, not use any stims and deal with it through the rest of the mission. Now, I know my teammates were probably not the happiest with the gene seed guy doing that, but this was something I had to do so that I felt like I don't know, made up for the fact that I took damage, I guess. I don't know. It was just something that felt like it needed to be done because I had gotten so far in the mission without taking the damage first. I might as well have kept going and not used any stims, right? It is stupid, I'll admit it, but it was a fun challenge, I will say. I'm sure teammates were just furious and screaming at me, but there are times where you feel like you have to do something, and even though you mess up, you fuck up immediately in these zones, and you're probably the most important for XP gains. It's probably stupid as all hell, I'll admit it, but it was still fun, like I was saying. Like, that's part of the reason to do this stuff. I don't know, I guess the point being there is just make a challenge for yourself every now and then if, you find that things are getting, I don't know, maybe bland, too easy, XYZ. I don't know. It's up to you to actually make that kind of reasoning for yourself if you're ever going to do that. I mean, everybody has little challenges for themselves they make, and this is one of those little ones that I decided to do as a full-on melee class, and it was fun, honestly. I can easily recommend this class to anybody because of how strong its potential is, honestly. Just wish it had 3 jetpack charges, truth be told.